lads, welcome back to another episode of Dads and Lads. Now we're out here in the bush, and on this episode we're going to show you guys how to buy a used four-wheel drive. Now we know the market is crazy at the moment with COVID pushing these prices up, and people think they've got an absolute gem. We don't want anyone taking the piss out of you. Hey! Now let's get into it. So there's a heap out there at the moment on Marketplace, and people are asking crazy prices. So you don't want to get too emotionally attached on the car that you may not be getting a bargain with. So don't be too picky on colour, don't be too picky on where you got to go to drive it. If it's a bargain, we got to go get it. So let's go.
Yeah mate, she's a one owner, only driven to church on Sundays. She's always been serviced, she's a well-loved vehicle.
So you want to suss out the owner, and a good way to do that is grab the logbook. It's got a heap of receipts like this one. You know it's probably been kept in good condition, and it's going to keep that seller honest. Because sellers are trying to get the most money for the car and you're trying to get it cheaper. So you've got to meet in the middle, try to get yourself a bargain and get a good car that's honest, reliable and cheap. So first thing is you're going to look at the car. You're looking for mismatched panels, newly painted panels, rust, things of that nature. If you see any of that, it's probably a good chance to walk away or ask the seller what's happened. Has it been in an accident? Has that panel been replaced? Has it driven in salt water? You might not want to buy a car that's got some rust. So you're after just a car to get out camping with your kids and get out bush. Little rust spots like this probably aren't going to matter. But if you want something pristine, this is probably going to cost a couple of grand to fix. New windscreen, bit of rust conversion stuff going on, some new paint, and should be good to go. But you've got to factor that in your budget if you want something pristine. So you want to be looking for split belts, things like timing belts. Has it recently had a timing belt? Costly items. Check the cooling system. Check if the coolant's good. Check the condition of the oil. Little things like that. Check if the wiring's all nice and tidy. Has it had a new battery? You want to be saving as much money on this as you can. Take a look at things like this. This air compressor looks brand new. See, it's a big ticket item. Everyone wants aircon when they're driving. So you know this guy's just spent probably a couple of grand on getting it replaced, gassed, and it's going to be icy cold for summer. Checking things like air filters can be a good way to tell what sort of driving has it done. Sand, dust, has it just been in the bush? You want to check the top side of the air cleaner. That's your clean side. It's going to tell you if you see heavy amounts of dust, you know the engine could be dusted and you could be up for costly repairs. Engine can be the hardest thing to tell the health of. So a simple test we can perform is a blow-by test. You can do this on petrols and diesels. Simply start the engine up, remove the oil cap, and check for blow-by pressure. If the cap sits there and just jumps around a bit, you probably know that everything inside the engine is looking good. If it shoots off into your face and you get a big steam pile coming out, it's probably a good sign that things out in the engine are worn and aren't the way they should be. So it'd be a good time to walk away from that one. You don't want to be worrying about cheap accessories like this. Spotlights, roof racks, winches. Anyone can go down and buy these cheap accessories and fit them themselves. People are trying to tack big money on for these items when really you should be caring about maintenance items such as clutches, gearboxes, and all those big ticket items. Wiring. It's one of the biggest things I see on these four-wheel drives. Everyone tries to have a go, and it can be super dangerous. I've seen many cars burn down from dodgy wiring like this. So try look for splicing in, things that are factory, nice plugs and really good connections. Shows that the person's cared, probably got it done by a professional. As far as accessories you want to be keeping an eye on are the big ticket item ones and items that are hard to get hold of. Bull bars like this one are probably worth a couple of $1,000s. So if you're looking at a car that's $5,000 to $10,000, this is a big chunk of the car cost that is already on the vehicle. And it's something I consider having a four-wheel drive a necessity. If you're looking for a vehicle to do some hard wheeling, you're probably going to want to look at things like big tyres, lift kits, bull bars, roof racks, accessories like that, because they're going to save you so much money. To do lift kits and bull bars and all that at once, you're looking at thousands and thousands of dollars. So if someone's already done that, you're probably getting a bargain already. If you're not looking to do some hard wheeling and you're just after a vehicle to get out there camping, don't worry about the accessories. I've been a mechanic for 10 years and I'd rather something be reliable, have a good engine, driveline and gearbox to keep you out there for longer. The rear of the vehicle. It's a good place to start when you're getting really into it and you're starting to get emotionally attached. Check for things like tow balls, trailer brakes. On utes, check your trays, check your well bodies. If you start seeing trailer brakes, big tow hitches, you probably know that the car's been towing. You might have been towing a caravan around Australia. Things when cars are towing vans, you want to be looking for things like extra maintenance because it's putting a lot of strain on engines, gearboxes, clutches, diffs, auto transmissions. So look for extra oil changes and things of that nature. Also look for GVM upgrades. Has it been towing a big van on stock suspension? You're probably going to know you're up for a new lift kit and things of that nature. The clutch can be a high ticket item, so you're going to want to check that. High take-up point can mean that the clutch is warm. A low take-up point can mean that there's an issue with the clutch hydraulic system. So you're going to want to take it for a drive. So now we're on the test drive. When you're on the test drive, you want to allow yourself plenty of time. You don't want to be in a rush because you want to check things like noises, knocking noises from suspension, grinding of gears, things of that nature. But let's keep going on this test drive and check some items. So while you're on the drive, you want to make sure that the gears are operating smoothly. It's going in and out of gear with no grinding and no excessive force. On automatic transmissions, you want to make sure that there is no erratic gear changes up or down and that the vehicle is shifting smoothly. Also a good time in manuals to check that clutch. So make sure that there's no flaring, you're not getting excessive revs and then the torque's coming back into the engine. You're probably going to know that your clutch is slipping. Especially with the four-wheel drive, you want to pull up, you want to lock the hubs in, and you want to select both low and high range. This is a good time to do some circle work, especially in an IFS vehicle, and check for things like clicking CVs, any abnormal noises in the front end, worn or tired bushes. You're going to hear those knocks when you're doing those circle works on a bit of a track. While I'm on the test drive, I'm always looking at the gauges, making sure the temperature gauge isn't fluctuating too much. It's sitting half, 3/4. Make sure the fuel gauge is working, rev gauge, battery meter if it's got it, checking the oil pressure gauge, things of that nature. Make sure the engine light's not flickering, flashing. We don't want to be buying a car that has all the bells and whistles and looks like a Christmas tree on the dash. When I take a vehicle for a test drive, I always try to get on the highway, do 100 Ks at least. Looking for things like vibrations, steering wobbles. It's a great indication of bushes being worn and things of that nature. Also, you want to make sure the brakes work well. Looking for shudders, squeals, squeaks. You're probably going to know it'd be up for some new brakes. On the test drive, it's a good time to check your turbo and injectors. Massive big ticket items and very hard to check. For the turbo, you're going to want to see if there's any signs of oil leaks around it. And on the test drive, you're going to want to make sure if it's got an aftermarket boost gauge, it's coming on boost smoothly and there's no obsessive noises. With injectors, you want to be checking in your rear view mirrors for excessive smoke. Black smoke, white smoke, unburnt fuel. So that's why you can check health of the injectors. I personally, if you have a low budget, would steer well clear of vehicles that have DPFs and a common rail diesel, because they can be very costly to fix and are very problematic when it goes bad. Now you're on the test drive, you want to get under the vehicle. You're away from the owner and you can take your time looking under the car. While you're under here, you're going to want to look at your big ticket items. Drive shafts, they're the lowest point of the car. So a lot of times they get damaged, dented, bent, and they put extra load and strain on big ticket items like gearboxes, diffs, and transfer cases. Other issues is you want to check the rear main seal, and that's a real easy one. Most of the time you're going to get oil leak between the engine and the gearbox, which means the gearbox needs to come out, new seal installed, and it's probably already wrecked your clutch. People try to hide a lot of oil leaks by giving it a good spray of degreaser, washing it before you come. So I always check under the vehicle after I've given it a good test drive and I'm away from the owner. You want it to be clean, but not too clean. A little oil leak, depending on your budget, is fine. It's something you can save up to, and oil is cheap. As long as you're putting it in more than it's coming out, you should be right. Big one for me is that I check in wheel arches, and under the vehicle is the chassis. It's a hard one to come back from. It's usually going to tell you where that vehicle has been. If you see big amounts of rust, you probably know it's been around salt water, and I'd definitely be walking away from it. Tyres. I personally consider them a big ticket item. They can be quite expensive in the range of size you got. There's no point looking at a car that's got 35s and buying it with other issues if you can't actually afford to put the 35s back on it. So you're going to want to check, guys, for wear. Wear is a big one. It's going to tell you if suspension bushes are gone, steering bushes, if that car needs a wheel alignment, rotate and balance. Also, defects. Cars get defected more often than not because of their tyres. So you're not going to want to buy a car with low treads and not be able to afford the tyres and potentially get that vehicle defected, because then you are in the shit. So there you have it, guys. They're my expert tips to buying a used 4x4. In a nutshell, you're going to be put into price ranges from 5 to 10 grand. You're going to be looking at an older car, and you're probably not going to want to worry about little oil leaks, a little bit of rust and things of that nature, because you can still get yourself a real reliable bargain 4x4. If 20 grand's your budget, you're probably looking at cars that have common rail diesel, DPFs, things like Rangers, Tritons, D-Maxes. So you're probably going to want to set aside a little bit of money, because they're common items of injectors, turbos and things of that nature start rearing their head, because you're looking at cars with 200,000 Ks on them. If your budget's 30 to 40 grand, you can probably get yourself a nice old Patrol, Land Cruiser, and step yourself up to vehicles like that are going to be reliable, probably rust-free, no oil leaks, and have a few of those tasty mods to keep you out in the bush. So they're my tips, guys. I hope you got something out of this video. Get yourself out there, buy yourself a four-wheel drive, don't get ripped off, don't go buying a lemon. See you guys out on the tracks.